Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the common fire ground-type Pokemon Numel, the Numb Pokémon, and its relatively rare evolution Camerupt, the Eruption Pokémon. While they might look a bit dopey to some at a young age, the members of the Numel family are sturdy creatures that can more than make the earth move when push comes to shove.
Numel have rounded yellowish-beige bodies with a series of 4 flat-bottomed feet and creamy beige underbelly, as well as a rounded oblong head, beige face, black eyes, a small hump on their forehead, a single set of small rounded ears, and a ring of purplish-brown flesh around their eyes that disperses heat away from their eyes. The most prominent feature is the massive hump that dominates their back, marked with a large patch of semi-speckled green skin and hair that surrounds the hole that leads to their internal magma chamber. The evolved form, Camerupt, have a much larger stocky build, with deep red hair, black two-toed hooves on each of the legs, a more noticeable but still small tail, a series of 3 blue rings on the sides of their bodies, and a larger snout with angular ears and a sprig of 3 bundles of hair on their head. Their back is dominated by a pair of rocky bone outcrops that serve as miniature volcanoes, which they use to erupt magma from the inside of their body. It is also noted that these creatures have access to a Mega Evolved form, and in this state, the massive influx of energy that comes with Mega Evolution causes a black M-shaped symbol to appear on their face as the volcanoes on their back merge into a single structure that is constantly effusing lava from it, with a series of black stones made of hardened lava surrounding the structure even as the lava flows around them, granting them a far more dangerous appearance than ever before.
Unlike nearly all other types of mammals, Numel, along with their evolved form Camerupt, are unable to produce much body heat by themselves, and would have to gain it through some other external method, if it were not for the fact that these creatures actually possess internal magma chambers in their frames, and this has affected them both physically and in their usage by human society.
In particular, Numel and Camerupt both share common employment as pack mules in volcanic environments that would otherwise be lethal to lesser creatures. As surprising as it may seem, the nerves within the brains and muscles of these creatures are not designed to be very tolerant of high temperatures and are partially compromised due to the excessive amount of heat stored within their bodies by their internal magma, making them somewhat dull-witted and incapable of feeling most physical pain. While this makes them somewhat difficult to battle with without extensive training, it also makes them easy to work with and exceptionally efficient at transporting cargo that would otherwise be painfully debilitating to creatures of their size. A single Numel alone can transport around 220 pounds of cargo, while a Camerupt can transport nearly 4 times that amount. As such, Numel and Camerupt have been relocated to many of the more remote volcanic regions of the world for transportation purposes, allowing communities otherwise separated by unstable and dangerous terrain to become more connected in terms of trading practices and intellectual development. While recent years have seen a dramatic increase in the usage for tourist purposes, these creatures are still used in many developing communities as a way of ensuring their survival against destruction, lest their volcanic isolation lead them to ruin when the local hazard finally blows. It should be noted, however, that Numel are usually imported far more often than Camerupt because they rarely ever erupt their magma, in contrast to their evolved form, who tend to erupt the moment they get exceptionally angry.
This split in personality between the two is also linked to the possible abilities, as well the dull-witted nature of Numel allows them to have access to oblivious and simple as base abilities, and even own tempo as a hidden ability. Camerupt are much more forceful and rambunctious in their behavior, with the rugged forms and seething internal magma giving them magma armor and solid rock as base abilities, while those with exceptional anger issues can also have anger point as a hidden ability.
In looking at their combat potential from here, in the case of Camerupt, it can be seen that as strong as these beasts can look, the overall base stats are a bit on the weaker side and don't make them much of a serious threat on their own. The one thing they do have going for them are their offensive stats, as they have an above-average base attack stat for a fully evolved Fire-type Pokemon, while the base special attack stat is about average for a fully evolved Fire-type Pokemon and above average for a fully evolved Ground-type Pokemon, the beast further possessing the highest base special attack stat out of all non-legendary Ground-type Pokemon, and thus have at least some use in serious combat. As a likely result of their choice of habitat near extreme sources of natural heat, Numel are born with a small chamber of boiling magma in their back hump, and are kept internally warm by its tremendous heat in even the coldest of environments. More importantly though, the magma, which often reaches temperatures as high as 2200 degrees Fahrenheit, is responsible for maintaining these creatures' metabolisms and can even serve as a direct source of energy when food resources are scarce, which is very important for them as Numel cannot stand hunger in the slightest. Numel rarely ever erupts this magma because it is slow to regenerate and cools quickly when exposed to the outside air, leaving their fire-type power somewhat weak and difficult to bring out in battle. Plus, the loss of any magma actually causes their hump to grow smaller until it is almost non-existent. Moreover, their magma is still susceptible to the cooling effects of water even when inside the hump, and will quickly harden upon coming into contact with rain or other sources of water, making Numel extremely sluggish and weak. The only way Numel can unfreeze their magma is by laying dangerously close to sources of extreme heat, such as active lava flows, magma chambers, or other members of their evolutionary family. Even so, as noted already, they are usually easy to get along with and raise, so they can make for a good start for anyone looking to specialize in either the fire or ground type, or that otherwise is interested in working with a useful type assignment.
Unlike Numel, who merely use their magma-filled humps as a source of heat and metabolic function, Camerupt are specifically designed to be able to use the massive quantities of magma within them as a weapon of aggression.
Upon evolving from Numel, the bone structure of these creatures changes drastically and grows to form two small volcano-like objects on their backs. By increasing the pressure within their magma chambers through internal muscle contractions, Camerupt can effectively use their new bone growths exactly like real volcanoes, funneling and spewing forth massive quantities of magma superheated to nearly 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit. In order to replenish their supply of magma, Camerupt will actively travel deep into volcanic craters and ingest superheated rocks, which are then broken down and melted by the magma remaining in their bodies. This process seems to have no ill effect on these beasts, as their stomachs are directly linked to the massive magma chambers. Since Camerupt are not very fast, they employ their massive humps as a direct weapon against large predators, deterring most lifeforms away while the heat-proof fur remains unburned. While they generally only erupt magma when they are severely angered, it has also been noticed that they almost entirely empty their magma chambers with a tremendous eruption every 10 years or so. At the moment, the reasoning behind these massive periodic eruptions of magma remains partially unclear, but recent studies may suggest the event to be the volcanic equivalent of a human vomiting in order to remove toxic volatiles from their digestive system. If this is the case, it would make Camerupt the only living creatures known that actively remove volatiles from their systems through a geologic process. Plus, it would also make sense in light of their physical abilities, as the more geologically active internal structure grants them the ability to use powerful attacks forbidden to Numel, such as the rock slide, eruption, and fissure attacks, the first of which they gain access to immediately after evolving.
It is lastly noted that Camerupt is one of only a select number of Pokemon known to be capable of undergoing the process of Mega Evolution.
With a Cameruptite clutched in their jaw, Mega Evolution turns these already temperamental beasts into fiery monsters whose rage can never seemingly be satisfied until they have reduced the opposition to ashes. This is mainly because Mega Evolution effectively fuses the two volcano-like humps on their body into a single massive vent with magma and lava that is constantly bubbling and ready to be spewed out at a moment's notice. It is unknown why exactly this happens, but this system effectively allows these creatures to spew out massively larger quantities of magma in battle as the magma chamber in the body has effectively doubled in size. This can make things harder for these creatures in cold climates, however, as only having a single chamber to store internal magma in means they do not have a backup in case one is clogged. As a result, these creatures are extremely hateful towards water and moisture in general, and will erupt boiling magma on anything and anyone that tries to put any ice or water on them at all, making them a severe threat to all people and Pokemon alike. It also doesn't help that the massive heat radiating from their internal magma chamber messes with the electrical activity in their brain, making them aggressive and prone to sudden outbursts of anger that can often leave their surroundings melted and burnt to a crisp. The only real check against these creatures is the fact that their mobility is reduced as a result of the massive volcano-like structure on their back, but that does little in practice to reduce the range in which these monsters can unleash burning devastation. In terms of stats, the added bulk of the new body moderately decreases Mega Camerupt's base speed stat, but more than makes up for it by moderately increasing the base attack stat, considerably increasing the base defense and special defense stats, and critically increasing their base special attack stat. In turn, they retain the highest base special attack stat out of all non-legendary ground-type Pokemon. In addition, the same brain malfunction that affects their temperament alters the way in which these creatures attack and substitute special effects for pure damage, in turn giving them the sheer force ability, which is sure to obliterate anything that underestimates what they are capable of in battle.
These beasts can be a lot of fun to play with at a young age, but as with a lot of Pokemon families, you're going to need plenty of protection and skill to handle them as they grow and get older. As Numel, their dim-witted nature makes them utterly adorable, and I honestly wouldn't mind being near them if it wasn't for the extreme heat their bodies can give off. Extreme Heat and myself are not exactly the best of companions a lot of the time. With Camerupt, though, Yeah, I'm not going near those creatures if I can help it. While it is true that, just as with many other Pokemon, it is possible to raise them from a young age to make them much easier to deal with, it is also the case that they are still quite rambunctious and not the easiest of beasts to handle on any day. The fact that they can basically erupt whenever and wherever they want to is not something that I find to be all that appealing. And while this again can be treated to some degree, there's still a hazard I would rather not have to worry about if at all possible. Mega Evolution just makes them even more of a threat to anyone nearby, even if it does also slow them down a bit. And as a whole, this family is only for those that are willing to brave the face of danger and work with them in proper protective attire, lest one awkward eruption from them lead to a very serious trip to the emergency room.
Though they might not appear to be a serious issue at first glance, the members of the Numel family are still potent beasts that can more than make life hectic for those that can't douse them with water quickly. It might take full evolution for them to get access to the most dangerous attacks, but they can still pack quite a punch at a young age and really make themselves a noble threat in battle if extreme heat is a problem for the opposition.
Just do yourself a favor and try not to get cheeky with them and their stored magma. Dropping random objects in their back to see them melt might seem funny to some, but if these beasts get too irritated by it, they'll gladly expel the foreign material with as much gusto as they can, and likely leave you in a melted state if you're too close to them when they blow their top.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.